Welcome to the financial intelligence session for today. This is a session that we hold on a weekly basis via Zoom. This is not about getting rich quick overnight, but instilling in you the skills, information, and education to build lifetime wealth that can be passed on to your children and grandchildren. So, I want to welcome every members of our group to the session today. As usual, if you're joining us for the first time, you're awesomely welcome. We encourage you to join each session every week and do watch our previous recordings, as each session are always a powerful one that you cannot afford to miss. So make sure to invite friends and families along next time. Before we dive into today's session, if you're yet to watch the sessions that we had last week, so please try and watch that session. It is uploaded on YouTube. If you search for the hour on YouTube, you'll find the channel. You can watch the one that we recorded last week. So today, we're going to do a quick recap on what we discussed last week. Last week, we talked about how sometimes people in their old age lose their job and start suffering in their finances. Perhaps they also fail at various enterprises because they lack the knowledge to set it up, right? We also talked about how many people retire and take up many old jobs just to keep up, paying the bills and continue paying up their mortgages. This is like trading one's time for money all through one's lifetime, right? So, like I said the last time, I don't know about you, but such lifestyle sucks. And then we talked about how two human beings put together are different at their core, at their cores. This is their inner mind and how they differ, right? They do things differently and view the world differently. For example, you see, if you take two people to a firm, one of them will see food, right? And the other person would see money. And that's why we're all different at our core values. We're so different. We're risen differently. We see the world in a different lenses. We're all different people. So we're just doing a quick recap on what we had last week before we actually go into today's session. Today's session is also going to be another awesome session as well. We talked about the profound ancient story of the caterpillar becoming a butterfly. For you to understand that not only will you change, but so will your friends change as well once you start climbing the ladder of success. So you may still be friends with them, like with your old friends, of course, but it's just harder for caterpillars to do the same things butterflies do, right? Obviously caterpillars can fly, and once you start flying, it's going to be difficult to be on the same level of reasoning and frequency and thoughts with the same people that are still on the caterpillar level, or people that don't have that much ambition in life as you do, right? These are big changes, and many people choose to make them in life. Okay, so once you start the process of trying to become like successful, or you want to do greater things in life, it's actually a big changes in you, in your personality, and the way you talk, and the way you reason, and the way you interact with people is a big, very big changes. And sometimes some people would struggle, to be on the same level as you are at that point in time. So these and many more were all the things that we talked about in the previous session. So if you're yet to watch the session, I encourage you to watch it. The link will be shared below this video when it's uploaded on YouTube later on. And you can also reach out to me on WhatsApp to request for the link. My number will be shared at the end of the slides. As usual, you guys know that I like to I like my calls, right? So sometimes when you're in a dark place, you think you've been buried, but actually you've been planted. Wow, that's a very good quote, guys. And sometimes when you're going through the turbulence of life, you are being planted. It is the seed. You're ready to shoot out, and I'm going to talk about a little bit about this later as well, because how you manage that time is going to determine how you're going to be successful after, right? So sometimes when you're in the dark in life, you don't think like you've been buried. Think like you've been planted. You're a seed waiting to germinate, right? So the seed that you are depends on what you want to be at that time. Okay, so very important. So once again, sometimes when you're in a dark place, you think that you've been buried, but actually you've been planted. And also, this is a very common one anyway. If you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you're gonna work till you die. I still find this quote very amusing because it is true. Like if people don't find a way to make money while they're sleeping, they will obviously work until they die. I mean, you gotta figure out like multiple streams of income that can make you money while you sleep or even do other things that you love to do in life, right? So today we want to continue from where we left off last week. As a reminder, we're on a journey and it's important to pay attention to these things, guys. The end goal, it's actually to help you to learn how to become financially free and how you can convert cash or labor into assets that will in return put money back in your pocket, right? Even when you're sleeping, you got to figure out a way to make money while you're sleeping. Very, very, very important, guys. What I will be talking about in this series is derived, obviously, like I always say, from the Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. This is probably one of the best books out there about financial intelligence and financial literacy. Just a little disclaimer, as usual, I am not an affiliate of the author of the book. I'm only using what I've learned and put into practice in this book as a guide, and I'm not claiming to be a qualified teacher or associate of the author. Okay. However, after saying that, I do recommend the book to anyone who is looking to learn more about financial intelligence. So, why do people choose job security over freedom? I mean, I wonder why people do that. Why would someone think about a job security instead of thinking about total and financial freedom? Sometimes it depends on how we're raised, right? Some people are advised to get a safe and secured job, while a few others are advised to get educated and start their own business and empire. So the reason for this depends on who we're getting our advice from, right? Some people seek job security and that's all they can pass on to you because that's all they know, right? This is why I keep saying, as parents, like what our parents know is what they passed on to us. If you're passing on the same thing to your children and you're not building up from that, your children, they're going to be outdated, right? They're not going to be up to par by the time they mature in their own generation, right? So yeah, so like I was saying, it depends on who we're getting the advice from, right? Some people, they seek job security and that's all they can pass on to you because that's all they know. While we have some people seek financial freedom, and because that's what they know, they will also pass on what they know to you. For example, I usually tell people, like, if you were to spend 6 months or a year with a billionaire, right? Even without giving you a dime, what you're gonna learn from them is gonna liberate your life forever. Even though they're not gonna give you a penny, they're not gonna give you anything, but the time, the advice, the education that you get from them is gonna set you up in life, and you're probably gonna become a billionaire like them one day, right? So again, while some seek financial freedom, and because that's what they know, they will also pass on what they know to you, right? The primary reason many people seek job security is because that is what they're taught to seek at home and at school. Till now, we're parents, we still say to our kids, go take your book and read your book, right? We say all these things, but at the same time, we have to see the other part of the world. We should not base it on, oh, you gotta go to school, get a job, get a degree, be the best students. The world is moving beyond that, so we have to be in the space to also educate our children and help them to be on par once they start to get into that level in life, right? And just the last 2 or 3 days, I didn't actually plan to say this, but I think I shared this as well as a short message in one of the groups. Just like in the past couple of days, I was watching a video of a 13-year-old boy is actually trading the stocks market, right? So it's all the same thing. Like as long as you can understand technical analysis, then you should you just need to learn a few things about trading stock options and stuff like that. But once you understand technical analysis, I think that's the basis. That's the basis of what you need, right? And everything else is just like, okay, you just want to add one or two things to your arsenal, right? So this young guy is only 13 years old, and he's made $1 million trading the stocks market, right? So when he was 8 years old, he saw another guy who was 13 years old who was also killing the stocks market. So he went to his mom and told his mom that, oh, he wants to be like that guy and he wants to, trade in the market. But at that time, his mom didn't just look at him like, oh, you're just a little boy, you don't even know anything, right? But sometimes we shouldn't look down on our kids because sometimes they have so much, inspiration in them and they're really, really ready to go. But anyway, the guy didn't listen to his mom, and eventually he went online and started learning and, find someone to teach him, and he started doing all sort of things to learn, right? And he also talked about making mistakes, which is what we're going to be talking about today. I mean, I can imagine a 13-year-old boy making mistakes and not giving up, right? And today is made millions, like $1 million or thereabout in the stocks market. I just thought I was just going to share that because it goes in line with what we're just talking about right now. So sadly to say, millions of people all around the world continue to follow that advice, right? What advice are we talking about? Go to school, get a good grades, and get a secured job, get a job security, and get a pension or something, right? This is an obsolete idea, guys. Like, I don't understand why people, and this is not to say not to get necessary education, but this is to say, why not include financial intelligence and financial literacy in your child's curriculum, right? People would say go to school, get a good grade, and find a job. One of the little secret that I learned in life is that you have to take a step away from the crowd in order to see what everybody else in the crowd are not seeing. This requires you to be open-minded and not ignorant. Very important. Many have been conditioned from their earliest days to think about job security rather than financial security or even financial freedom. I will have another session about the mind and how the mind works. The mind is the greatest gift of the creator to mankind only if you understand how it works and how to use it. Okay, but that would be a separate session entirely, and that will probably fall under the lifestyle transformational sessions on Sunday, right? And because most people learn little to nothing about money at home or at school, it's only natural that they hold on even more tightly to the idea of a job security instead of reaching for financial freedom, because that's all they know. I mean, if all you know is how to, to become an employee, I mean, it's going to be difficult for you not to hold on to that tightly, right? So, unfortunately, the topic of money and financial literacy isn't in the school curriculum. Like I said earlier, this should be taught to every child. Like, once the child start going to school, they should learn about money, they should learn about financial literacy, they should learn about investing, because this is going to liberate them in the future. But unfortunately, the topic is missing in our children's school curriculum. If you study the cash flow quadrant, you'll quickly notice that the left side is driven by security and the right side is driven by freedom. So according to the author, financial intelligence, the way the author described financial intelligence is financial intelligence is not so much how much money you make. We talked about this last week, but how much money you keep and how hard the money works for you. Okay, so you're making money, you're keeping money, but the money that you're keeping, is it working for you? So how hard the money that you keep is working for you, and how many generations you keep it for, like if you were to pass on today, like obviously you reach old age, how much wealth are you gonna leave behind for the next generation, and how much wealth are they gonna be able to leave behind for the next generation? The most important thing though is not just about leaving the wealth behind for the next generation, but it's more about educating them so they know how to multiply that money for the next generation that's coming after them, right? Do you know that the reason why so many people who earn an income or make a living from the left side of the quadrant struggle financially? Do you know that? Well, it's because whenever they make more money, their two biggest expenses increases as well, and that is their taxes and interest on debts. As a matter of fact, some go as far as upgrading their cars. That's like lending more money, especially in this part of the world anyway. And in other parts of the world, even if you're paying cash, like you would have to pay more, right? So people, the reason why many people who earn an income or make a living from the left side of the quadrant struggle financially, that's one of them. They immediately they make more money. What comes to their mind is to buy a bigger car or a nicer car, and perhaps their houses as well. And obviously, if you're in this part of the world, the people they're all into mortgages, right? So that means you're gonna be tied up to even a bigger mortgage. Like you gotta pay more, and it maybe 25 years you have to pay that, or 30 years in some countries, it depends, right? So this is the first thing that comes to people's mind, and that's why they struggle financially, because they want to buy a new car, they want to buy the next big thing, phones and everything, and nothing is left to invest, right? However, true financial security and freedom are found on the right side of the quadrant, which is what this sessions is all about. It's all about helping you to learn and understand how you can move faster to the right side of the quadrant. Okay. Many people making a living as an employee usually move around in circles. At first they're happy and think they found an awesome job, right? Well, however, after a period of time, they become dissatisfied from the same job. At first, when people find a job, they're so happy, oh, they found a job. But after like a year or two, they start, the mood changes, and the job is stressful, and the pay is not even enough, and all those things, right? Even the S quadrant, which is the self-employed quadrants, may sometimes be overwhelming, even more than being an employee, right? Most self-employed work overtime because it's only them trying to do everything. They simply own a job, right? They own a job. They're just the one doing everything themselves. And the failure rate in the self-employed quadrant is also high as well. A lot of people fail in the self-employed quadrant because it is so overwhelming and stressful, and some people the failure rate is quite high. And then whenever they're successful, their success is even worse than their failure, because the more successful they become, remember they're the one doing the job themselves, right? The more they will have to work. So the more successful, the more clients they get, the more time. Some people work so many hours, guys, like being a self-employed person. And that's the way it is. Like the more success they get, then the more they'll have to work, okay? And it becomes even worse for them because their work would increase. So let's take a look at the difference between job security, financial security, and financial freedom. First, we want to talk about job security, right? This is people in the employee quadrant, okay? People in this category have little to no knowledge about finances at all. And they have been trained for the left side of the quadrant at home and in school. Their mind has been prepared for the world of becoming an employee. And then we want to talk about second, we want to talk about financial security. Having financial security means you are well seated on both sides of the cash flow quadrant. You operate successfully from both sides, right? So that's if you're having a financial security. And as an example, you could be an employee or be self-employed and also be an investor. It is possible. And according to the author, regardless of the amount of money people earn, people tend to feel more secure if they operate in activities from both sides of the quadrant, right? I think it's a thing of the mind. Like people think, oh, if I'm doing this and I'm doing that, people tends to be feel more secured about such, right? And then we get to talk about financial freedom. So true financial freedom is found on the right side of the quadrant because as a business owner, you have people working for you, and as an investor, you have your money working for you. Very important, guys. If you're on the right side of the quadrant, right, it is up to you if you want to work or if you choose not to work, right? You can decide that, oh, you know what, I want to be the president of my own company, and I want to go to my company at 9 a.m. and leave at 12 p.m., or I want to go at 10 a.m. and leave at 2 p.m., whatever, right? It's up to you. And you can decide to say, you know what, I'm just going to employ people to do all the jobs, and I'm just going to, enjoy my life, right? Sometimes on weekdays, I see people, and these are potentially business owners, right? They're playing golf early in the morning, like 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., right? You see, someone out there is working for these guys, and these guys are just living the life. Wow, that's so awesome. So when you're equipped with the knowledge in these two quadrants, it will bring you complete freedom from work. I mean, trading your time for money, right? Remember, you need the right knowledge and education to shift to this quadrant. If you're already like an employee or self-employed, you obviously need the right education to shift from the left side of the quadrant to the right side of the quadrant. As an employee, your boss task is not to make you rich, okay? So your boss is not there to make you rich. Your boss's job is to ensure you get your paycheck weekly, fortnightly, or monthly, right? So that's why you have a boss, right? Your boss's job is not to be there to make sure you are financially free, but your boss's job is there to ensure that you get paid, make to make a live. I mean, to get your paycheck at the end of the month. In some countries, you get paid fortnightly, even in some countries, you get paid weekly. So in life, it is your job to become rich if you desire to be rich, and it is not your boss's job. Okay, very important. So pay attention, folks. And that job begins the moment you receive your wages. Wow. And all the money in the world cannot save you if you have poor money management. Remember those guys that make more money and buy a new car or a new house because they have a very poor money management. So remember, all the money in the world cannot save you if you have poor money management. Listen, if you continue to work hard on the left side of the quadrant, you will work hard forever. And I'm going to say that again. If you are not wise today and you continue to work hard for other people on the left side of the quadrant, you will work hard forever. Okay. I hope you understand that you need to learn how to work smart and not work hard. Okay. Very important. Learn how to work smart and not work hard. However, if you're able to transfer your hard working lifestyle to the right side of the quadrant, then you have a chance of finding freedom, right? So let's say all the hard work you putting into being on the left side of the quadrant. As an example, let's say you're starting up a business as a business owner, right? And you decide to say, you know what? I love my business so much, and I want to be the executive or the president or the CEO or whatever title you want to give yourself in the company. And all the hard work you put in for another person being an employee, you're not putting the same hard work into becoming a business owner or an investor, right? Then you have a chance of finding freedom or financial freedom. One thing successful people know is that success is a poor teacher. Yeah, that's right. Success is the end result of all the labors, all the sufferings, all the mistakes a successful person has endured, right? People only see the success, not the pain. They don't see the agony, they don't see the stress. It makes success a poor teacher because others want to be successful without understanding the mistakes that led to the success. For example, imagine this guy, what he has to go through to get just a six pack, right? You can imagine all the pain, but once you get a six pack, people see, oh, wow, he's got a six pack, right? But all the pain, guys, in school, we're labeled for making mistakes, we're tagged as failures. We are giving grades, the D students, the E, the F students, when in actual fact, it is through mistakes that we learn best in life, guys. Do you ever wonder or think why the same people tagged as failures, which is one of the things that I mentioned last week? I mean, the D, the E, the F students. Do you ever wonder why some of these guys later in life become a business owner and now employ the A student, right? Here's the deal, guys. Learning comes from making mistakes. And in the I quadrant, which is the investor quadrant, mistakes cost money. Okay, very important to know that it is financial suicide to try to become an investor if you lack both the knowledge and the capital. So let's take a look at the three types of business systems. We have three types of business systems commonly used to today. So we have the traditional C-type corporation. So this is where you develop your own system. We have the franchise. This is where you buy an existing system, which is what so many people do, right? For example, you can buy a McDonald's franchise, so you don't have to build McDonald's, but you buy the franchise, so you're operating under the name. You're operating under the business system, so you don't have to build your system. You have to key in into their own system, and then you make your money, right? Again, one of the commonly used today is network marketing. This is where you buy into and become part of an existing system. I'm going to explain a little bit about this as well. So they all have their pros and cons, even though eventually they all do the same thing, right? So provided it's operated properly, then each system will provide a constant stream of income without much physical effort on the part of the owner, right? So once, obviously, that is once it's up and running. The problem is to get it up and running. That's the problem with these things, guys, to get it up and running. And pardon my slides, I think I didn't actually pay attention to that. I can see that some of it I actually cut out, so pardon me for that. Take into consideration that there is the chance of also losing two or three companies while creating a business system, as you may not get it right at the first time. And remember, we're talking about the pros and cons, right? This is why learning comes from mistakes. People need to understand that learning in life comes from mistakes. The end result, which is success, is a poor teacher. We already talked about that, because we'll learn more about ourselves when we fail. So don't be afraid to fail in life, because that's when you learn more about yourself. And I always say to people, how you handle yourself in times of trouble will define your success, and it will define how you will get out of the troubled times, that the turbulence of life that you're going through. So how you handle yourself in times like that is going to define how it's going to define your results once you get out of it. So if you're someone that looks down on yourself and sulks, and don't be surprised if you find yourself downcasted for a long time. But if you're the type that understand failure and ready to learn fast and ensure you learn from your mistakes and will not allow it to repeat itself, you may well find yourself quickly uplifted and soon closer to your success, or even become successful on your next attempt, right? Every failure is a lesson. If you're not willing to fail, you're not ready to succeed. And this is contrary to how many of us are raised, right? So many of us are we don't want to make mistakes. We want to be perfect. Like, if we want to start an adventure, if we want to become an entrepreneur, we want to get it right the first time. And when we don't get it right the first time, we believe that we have failed, guys. But no, no, no. Every failure is a lesson. And if you're not willing to fail, you're not ready to succeed. And this is contrary to how we're raised. You can only fail when you give up. So remember the saying that winners never quit and quitters never win, right? So remember, failing is part of the process, because you cannot have success without failure. Unsuccessful people are people who never fail. If you want to make it to the B side quickly, that is the business owner, there are three ways you can go about it. And one of them is to find a mentor, okay? Don't find an advisor. An advisor is different from a mentor. So make sure that you find a mentor. Like I said in previous session, a mentor is someone who has made the mistakes. They've made the journey shorter and smoother for you. They have already done what you want to do, and they're successful at doing it, right? So do not find an advisor. An advisor is different from a mentor. In fact, some advisors are very dangerous, okay? We have many advisors out there, people who will tell you how to do it, but they have never done it themselves. professionally, most advisors they're in the self-employed quadrants, right? And the world is filled with lots of self-employed trying to tell you how to become a business owner or an investor. Just because they're self-employed, they believe they're business owners and they will be advising you. So sometimes it can be very dangerous. So be wary of an advisor and you should find a mentor. Second is franchises. So buying a franchise is another way to learn or get your hands on a business system. Like I said, I was going to explain this as well. So a franchise is a tried and proven system. So when you buy a franchise, you're buying a tried and proven operating system. The idea of buying a franchise system is you can keep your focus on developing your team rather than trying to create your own business from scratch, right? So that might be what some people do. So you can buy a franchise if you want to stay away from the pain of building a business system from the scratch, because you got to understand what a business system is, right? I mean, it's like you can have 100 different things in the business system, 100 different totally from each other, right? For example, looking at the case of McDonald's, they would have like farmers that supply them with beefs. They would have farmers that supplies them with potatoes. They would have go into real estates in order to obtain buildings. They would have employees that they will train how to cook the meal. They would have people to serve the customers. They would have managers to manage the employees, and they would have people to clean. They would have so many things that is involved. They would have like the cold room, like to keep the beefs and all the patties and things like that, right? So a business, and that's one, right? That's McDonald's. Another business system will be something entirely. For example, if it's online, you would have someone to build the site first. You would have someone to do the content. You would have someone to design. You have someone to market it. You have someone to to manage the whole process for you, right? So everything. So when we're talking about business systems, some people do not want to go through the pain, so they would just rather buy into a franchise, right? And like I said, when you buy a franchise, you're buying a tried and proven operating system. And the whole idea is for you to keep focused on developing your team. So many banks are willing to loan money on franchise, but not a small startup business, because the banks acknowledge the importance of business systems and how the risk is lower on lending to business systems, right? The risk is lower for the banks to lend to business system. And thirdly, we want to talk, it's going to be network marketing. So the third one is network marketing. So network marketing is also known as multi-level marketing or direct distribution system. So just as it is with franchises, the legal system initially attempted to prohibit the network marketing industry, right? The network marketing actually got through that. So it's what to note that the network marketing involves hard work, though. People need to understand that network marketing, it involves hard work. So it is a good way to make your transition from the left side of the quadrant to the right side, provided you can master and get the right education in this space as well. So now let's move on and talk about the 7 levels of investors, okay? The first level, these are people with nothing to invest. Okay, so these are people who have no money to invest. So they either spend everything they make, or they spend more than they make. So we have many rich people in this category actually, because they tend to spend as much or even more than they make, and as a result they have nothing left to invest. Remember those, like I always say, like trying to keep up with the Joneses, always buying material things to impress others. And unfortunately, 50% of the adult population are categorized on this level. Secondly, we have the borrowers. So these are people who solve their financial problems by the means of borrowing money. They sometimes invest with borrowed money as well. Sometimes, for the most part of it, they do not pay attention to money as well as their spending habits. anything of value they own has debt attached to it. So they are the kinds that actually spend their credit cards just anyhow. Remember when we talk about how you do one thing is how you do everything in the lifestyle transformational coaching that we have on Sundays, right? People in this category, refuse to understand that the problem is not necessarily their income or lack of it, but rather their money or spending habits. They are just ignorant. They're just ignorant people. I know a few people, when I talk to them about investing in themselves, they keep saying they have no money to do that, right? Occasionally, when I sit them down and start going through some irrelevant items in their house that they never use again or even forgot about it completely, right? And these are items they could sell on garage sales. Like in this part of the world, we have what we call garage sales, which is like people sell things that they don't need on weekends. And I know in some countries they can have like local markets and all other stuff like that, or even eBay online, right? So these are items that they could sell on garage sales or even auction sites and use the proceedings to invest in their lives, right? This process usually works for those, whenever I sit people down, these are people who are actually ready to move on, right? This is not people who are still in the denial stage. So this process usually works for those who are willing to take the leap, as I have seen example of people who made thousands of dollars from the items they never used or forgot they even purchased, right? I know a guy that actually sold all his games and he made more than $1,000, right? And these are games that he has been accumulating over the years. And I'm talking about just games, right? So and I also know people who complain about their lack of money, but their shoes, their bags, their games, everything they own, right? It's worth more than some people used to invest in lands in some countries. And I know what I'm saying. Like, I know people, like, they invest in so many material things, but if they were to convert, those things into money, like, monetary value, it's enough to buy land in some countries in the world, right? Some believe their situation is hopeless and some has act and they have given up, right? As a way of consolation, they continue with this lifestyle and they keep on doing these things that they do repeatedly. They are out of control with their borrowing, shopping, and spending habits. The next level is the third level, which is these are the savers, like people that saves money. So these are people who put aside a small amount of money, usually on a regular basis. They keep their money, in savings accounts, such as a low risk savings account or a certificate of deposit in some countries. They may have a retirement account with a bank or in a mutual fund cash account as well. People in this category often save to consume rather than to invest. For example, they save to buy a car or a new car or a TV, or they save to go on vacation, right? They believe in paying in cash, unlike those on the previous level who believe in paying, in borrowing and just the money that they borrow and to do whatever they want to use. They are afraid of anything credit or debt, so they opt for security of saving money in the bank. If you consider inflation and taxes, right? So savings would eventually give you a negative return. As an example, if you put money in the bank, like I said before, if you put 10,000 in the bank, after a year or even after 5 years, due to inflation, you cannot use the same 10,000 to buy the same thing you would use it to buy at the time that you put the money in the bank, right? Because inflation would have kicked in and things would have gotten more expensive. So that means the value of the money has reduced. So people in this category are unwilling, to take on as much risk, right? They often waste their most precious asset, which is time, trying to save money. So in the next level, we have the smart investors, which is the fourth level. So we have three different types of investors in this level. So these are people who understand the need to invest, right? So they sometimes contribute to companies' a retirement plan. I know in the US it's 401k. I know in Canada it's called RRSP, and I believe it's called Nest, NEST in the UK. So you may want to check out within your country and find out what such account is called. Okay, so they sometimes have external investments in mutual funds, stocks, bonds, or limited partnerships. Then we want to talk about the first people in this category. So we call people in this level I can't be bothered. So they can be bothered about anything. So they have somehow brainwashed themselves that they don't understand money and they will never will. You may hear them say things like, I'm not good with numbers, or I'll never have an understanding of how investment works. So I suggest if you want to learn how to make money to work for you, then you must do everything you can to understand investment is very important. People think when we talk about investing, it's just about buying stocks. Oh no, that's not true. You can invest in another person's business. I know people who do that and they make good returns. You can invest in a land or property, even go fully into real estate later, right? You can invest in cryptos, you can invest in gold, you can invest in silver, you can invest in natural gas, and so on and so forth. That's why it's important to have a clear understanding of what you're doing and don't follow others blindly, okay? And then we have the next sub level in this category. So these are the pessimists, right? The negative minded. So these are people who know all the reasons why an investment would not work. Okay, these people are very dangerous to have around you. They often sound intelligent, speaks with authority. You know, like they know what they're talking about. They might also be successful in their chosen field, but they are chickens under their intellectual surface. They can come up with stories about how every investment known to man is a scam, right? Like everything you tell them is a scam. No matter what you say to them, it's a scam. Even though people are making millions and billions, they will always come up with excuses why you shouldn't be a part of the train. You often walk away feeling terrible, after meeting people like this, and you're afraid and you're doubtful, when you ask for their opinion on a stock or other investment, right? They just give you all fears and all the reasons why it's not going to work. Such as in the case of cryptos, some would label cryptocurrencies, some would say cryptos is a scam, even though others are making money daily in the market, right? You would see people on this level, they would always find something negative to say. And remember my favorite saying, investing is not risky. Not knowing what you're doing is risky. And then the next sub level, this is the third category of these sub levels, and they are the gamblers. Professional traders call people in this category pigs. But while the pessimist is very cautious, this group is the opposite of that, as they are not cautious enough. So they view the stock market or any investment market just about the same way they view casinos, right? So they would say, "Oh, it's just luck. Throw the dice and just pray," right? All they think about, "Oh, everything is luck, luck, luck. I'm just gonna throw in the dice and then I'm gonna go pray that I win," right? Like sometimes people would trade in forex or any trading, and then the price is going against them, and they will start praying. Oh, they will be praying the price should come back into their favor. Guys, no. If you do your homework on what you're doing, you will not be a gambler. Okay, so this group has no trading or investment principles, and they have no rules that they abide by when they're trading. The fifth level is they are the long-term investors. People on this level are clearly aware of the need to invest. These are people, that are actually actively involved in their own investment decisions. Like I always say, be in the driver's seat. They clearly laid out their long-term plans that will enable them to reach their financial goals. They also invest in their education before actually buying into investments. Remember how I talk about the need of investing in yourself and not to do things blindly or follow people blindly like others do, right? They take advantage of periodic investing. Most importantly, they seek out advice from competent financial advisors, like people that know what they're doing, right? So if you're not yet a long-term investor, get yourself there as fast as you can. You need to sit down and map out a plan, okay? Gain control over your spending habits. In this part of the world, like most people, like when they go to the office in the morning, they would buy coffee, right? They would buy coffee in the morning, and then in the afternoon they will go out for lunch and they will spend money on lunch. And one day I just sat down and I figure out, like, if people are doing this on a daily basis, so maybe they spend like $6 or thereabout, or let's just say $5, right, on a cup of coffee in the morning. Like, people do that, and then maybe at lunchtime they spend another $15 on lunch. Eventually they end up spending like $20 on meal in a day, right? So I was coaching someone one day and I said to her, okay, I figure out, like, if you can cook your meal from home, like, this is sacrifice. Everything in life in sacrifice, okay, is about sacrificing. So if you can cook your meal from home, so you don't have to spend $20 on lunch every day. So put aside $20 on a daily basis, okay? On a daily basis, just keep saving $20. Just keep putting aside $20, right? And I said, do the same thing with your husband, okay? So both of you save $40. Just say you're not gonna eat outside. It's sacrifice. You're not gonna eat outside, okay? So if you do that for a year, that is 14,400, guys. That is 14,400. So I did this with someone, okay? So after a year, she came back and she said, "Oh, look, we've got 14,000." What, they just have around about 14,000, because they sometimes you can't do it every day, right? And I think the best way to do it is just to wait for at the end of the month, and just take out that amount, like whatever it's going to amount to in a month, and just put it away, right? Because it's so difficult to put away money every day, but you can do it on a monthly basis. And she just said, "Oh wow, we've got $14,000." I'm like, okay, there you go, you have the money that you need to invest. So that's another way people can make money. To like, if you want to make a down payment on a property, or you want to start like a business, and that business is going to cost you $5,000, there you go, you have $14,000. Just take 5,000 out of it. Or there you go, you have $14,000. If you're from like a country where you can buy lands for that amount, send your money there and buy lands, right? It's your money, you can do whatever you want to do with it. So I thought I was going to share that with you guys. So just to continue, you have to reduce your debts and liabilities in life, okay? Which is part of what I just said. Okay, you have to find a way to, reduce the way that you spend money, reduce your debts, reduce your liabilities, like things that doesn't bring money into your pocket, reduce them. Try as much as possible to live within your means, okay? Calculate how much you need to invest per month, and for how many months, at a realistic rate of return it will take you to reach your goals, okay? And we're talking about goals, such as, at what age do you plan to stop working? You should start thinking about that. How much money would you need per month if you start working, right? And just to keep this simple, you don't want to go too fast, too fancy about it, right? So you just want to keep it on a very simple level. Forget about the sophisticated investments for now. Forget about all of that. You just want to learn more about what is happening and where you can invest your funds right now. A lot of people are flocking into cryptos, but it's important to understand fully what exactly you're doing and where you want to invest your funds, okay? So try not to outsmart the market. People on this level, they're patient and they take advantage of time. Remember, like in Forex, how I would say, don't chase the market, but let the market come to you, right? People in this level, they're like that. And we're still talking about the long-term investors, right? So provided you start early, in life, and start investing regularly, you can have a remarkable wealth, by the time you grow older, right? If you start late in life, for example, at the age of 45, then this level may not work for you. So you may need to find a suitable level, okay? Because this is a long-term investing, right? But if you start early in life, then it is good. And then the sixth level, we have the sophisticated investors. So these are people who seek more aggressive or more risky investment and strategies in the market. This is because they have good money habits, a solid foundation of money, and also they are investment savvy. They are not newbies to the game, and they are very focused. They have a consistent long track winning record as well. And they also have enough losses that give them the wisdom that only comes from making mistakes and learning from them. They risk less than 20% of all their capitals in speculative ventures, they often start small. Like when they're investing, they start small. They put a little money down so they can learn the business of investing. It can be stocks, it can be business of acquisition, it can be a real estate or syndication, it can be buying foreclosures, right? But whatever they're trying to do, they start small, putting a little money down, and they can learn the business of investing. So if they lost, like 20% of what they invested, right? It's not going to damage them, or it's not going to take food off their table. Many out there put all their capitals into things that they have no knowledge about, just in the name of they want to get rich quick. So they get into markets when others are getting out. Remember, we talked about the smart investors in the first session. So if you're yet to watch that, you need to catch up on it. And I also talk about some crypto opportunities that you may still tap into now, before it's too late. So people in this level, they know when to get out of the market. So we're talking about the sophisticated investors, right? So they know when to get out of the market, and an exit strategy is more important than entry into the market at this level. So for these guys, they focus more on their entry strategy, which is what is missing from most people's strategy, right? Most people do not understand when to get in and when to exactly get out of the market. The next level, which is the seventh level, we call them the capitalists. So this is a level of excellence, and very few people in the world ever reach this level. Take, for example, in America, maybe one person out of 100 is a true capitalist, right? So you can imagine in the old world, like how many capitalists we have, right? So they are often excellent business owners as well as investors, because they can create a business and investment opportunities simultaneously. Wow, they can do both simultaneously. And also, a capitalist, make more money by making use of other people's money. We talked about that last week, guys. They make more money by making use of other people's talents and other people's time, right? This is one of the things that we talked about in the previous session. So again, make sure to watch it if you're yet to. They usually get into trends or products or companies or even countries before other people do that, before others, find it popular. And I'm gonna give you an example so you understand what I'm saying. These guys, they getting into trends and products and companies, and sometimes they get into countries earlier than others, and then before other people start to find these things popular. And the example that I'm going to give is Amazon. Amazon, for example, started in 1994. Guys, 1994, many people do not even see the future. They lack foresight, right? This is the time when many could not even think of such. Wow. And today, everybody is rushing into e-commerce. And this guy is the richest man in the world today. The guy that owns Amazon, right? But he started in 1994 before anyone even thought about e-commerce. And I know, like you, that you're listening to me right now, there are some ideas running in your mind, and they might look crazy, guys. Maybe it's something that you might need to revisit, because there are some ideas going through your mind right now that they would actually make sense in maybe 10 years time or 20 years time. Now the world is moving into AI, artificial intelligence, blockchain, so many other things like that. There's one that I was going to mention, but I can't remember. So maybe it's time to start tapping into those technologies before other people make something out of it, right? I know obviously everybody knows about AI now anyway, but there might be an angle of it that you can actually tap into, that's going to make a difference in the world, maybe in 10 years time, maybe in 20 years time, right? So like I was saying about the Amazon guy, so this is due to the fact that they know how to manage risk and how to make money without money. You gotta understand how you can make money without money. Very, very important. A lot of people say to me, "Oh, they don't have money. That's why they're not making money." No, no, that's not right. That's not true. You gotta understand, how can you make money without money? Very, very, very possible. Very possible, guys. So these guys, they can do this because they know that money is not a thing, but merely an idea created in their head. And I'm gonna repeat that. These guys, the capitalists, they can do this because they know that money is not a thing. Okay, someone started from the scratch and they eventually become a billionaire. So does that mean money is a thing? No. If they can start from the scratch, like with barely nothing and become a billionaire, then that means money, it's not a thing. It is just an idea created in their head. I will like you to ask yourself these questions before moving further. What level of investor are you? And what level of investor do you want or need to be in the future? Very important. What level of investor are you right now? Maybe you're in one of those levels that we talked about. And maybe you want to revisit the video so you can understand all of these things. And then what level of investor do you want, or do you want to be in the future? Maybe this would be your action for the week. Maybe this is what you get after working for the week. This is our last slide. So this is yet another awesome session, folks. I hope it was insightful for you. And as usual, you can reach out to me on WhatsApp. That's my number. And I would encourage you to invite others to join in the future. So also, it's another awesome sessions today, guys. I hope you get a take away one or two things and start working on it in your personal space, or maybe in your group space, peer group, wherever you are, or whatever you do. It's really up to you. So let me know if you have any questions with regards to what we talked about today. I will make the video available later, so you can let me know. We meet tomorrow again for the lifestyle transformational coaching, which is completely different from financial intelligence. So that's more about finding out why you're here. So thank you, everybody. So for most of you guys, we're gonna catch up in the group again. And then that should be it for today, guys. So thanks for being in attendance, and have an awesome weekend. Thanks, guys.